So let's look at this. If we write all 6 trig functions, I think the first thing that we need to think about is what's what. So if this is my 60 degree, that means this is my opposite, right? This is always going to be my hypotenuse because it's across from the 90-degree angle, and this one is touching, so this is the adjacent. So when I say sine of 60 degrees, I really need to know the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is the square root of 3 all over the hypotenuse, which is 2. Okay? And we'll come back and plug these in the calculator and see if we're right. Because when you plug this in the calculator, it'll tell you the decimal. And then what you do is you plug this in the calculator, and you should get the same decimal. Okay. We're focusing on the exact value. So cosine of 60 degrees is equal to the adjacent over the hypotenuse. And the adjacent is just 1 over 2. Now that one's easy. I don't need a calculator. Did you guys get 0.5 when you plug that in the calculator? You should have. If you didn't, then you're not in degree mode on your calculator, and we can figure that out. Tangent of 60 degrees is going to be the opposite over the adjacent. Okay? And so then now this is going to be the opposite, which is the square root of 3, all over the adjacent, which is 1, which is just the square root of 3. Now, what is the reciprocal of sine? Anybody know off the top of their head? Huh? Cosecant, right? Everybody thinks cosecant is the reciprocal of cosine. It's not. So cosecant is just going to be the hypotenuse over the opposite. Okay? So then that's going to be 2 over the square root of 3, right? We're just reciprocating these. However, we can't leave. We have to rationalize the denominator. We never want to leave a square root in the denominator of a fraction. So the way that we do that is we multiply it by itself. That's one way to do it. So I multiply the top and bottom by the square root of 3. So this just stays 2 root 3 on the top. Now when you take the square root and square it, you're just left with the base, right? That's essentially the square root of 9, which is what? 3. And this is the exact value. This is what we want. Okay? Now, to do cosine, its reciprocal is secant. And secant is just going to be the hypotenuse over the adjacent. So that's just going to be 2 over 1. And you simplify it, it's just 2. And then now tangent's reciprocal is just cotangent. Oh, you know what I probably should be? This is of 60 degrees. This is of 60 degrees. I keep forgetting to put the angle in there. 60 degrees. And so this is going to be the adjacent over the opposite. And so this would be 1 over the square root of 3. Again, we rationalize the denominator. And so this becomes the square root of 3 all over 3. All right. So now is the tricky part. We're going to plug this into our graphing calculator. Now I'm going to use Desmos because my emulator is not quite set up on my calculator yet. So first, let's double check these. So sine of 60 degrees. So if I say sine of 60 degrees, right, and I hit enter, I get 0.866, blah, 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 blah. Well, I said the answer was a square root of 3 over 2. So if I say the square root of 3, right, divided by, oh, nope, don't want to do it that way. Now let's clear this out. If I say the square root of 3 and then divide that by 2, oh, shoot. Yeah, I know. I'm used to using the actual calculator. So then I do this, and now I hit divide by 2. There we go. Boom, same thing, right? Now, the interesting thing is to verify, well, let's do the rest of them. So then there's cosine of 60. That's right. And then tangent of 60 should be 1.73. So if I say tangent of 60, 1.73, which is actually the square root of 3 over 1. So those are right. And then now lastly, we need to do cosecant. Cosecant is the reciprocal of sine. So actually what I would do is I would say 1 divided by sine of 60. And I get this 1.15. So now when I plug in 2 times the square root of 3, so if I say 2 root 3, then I got to come out of that, all divided by 3, I should get the exact same, oops, shoot. Divided by 3, I get the same decimal. See how that works? Does that make sense to you guys? So that's how we find these values. So when you get to your homework, to find these values, that's basically what you do is you just reciprocate it. So cotangent is root 3 over 3. So in order to find cotangent, I would just say 1 over tangent of 60. And that gives me that decimal, which was root 3 divided by 3. So I would say the square root of 3, got to come out of that, and then say divided by 3, same decimal. Okay? Any questions on that? Okay. So that's how you find the exact value. Now these are the exact values. What we did in the calculator are the approximations. Okay. The square root of 2 is an irrational number. That means that decimal goes on forever and it never repeats itself. Kind of